and welcome to another episode of Carolyn Talks Television. I'm Carolyn Topol, and I'm here with my amazing co-host, Rachel Arnett.
I'm amazing. You heard it here first.
First here and always.
Yes.
Just saying. And this week, we have a very unusual topic. And before I start that, I just want to give you a little teaser. Stick around to the end, because the last 5 minutes, we have a special announcement that involves everybody in West Hartford and anywhere you live. It doesn't matter.
If you have an internet connection.
You got internet, this will be important to you. So don't leave us before the end. But in the meantime, we are starting a fun episode for us. Now, you've all had sports shows on your TVs.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, I watch the Super Bowl, I watch the games on TV, I watch the baseball games.
My dad's watching baseball.
Baseball season. I mean, you know, now everybody's watching soccer, now that, you know, the U.S. is inching its way into contention, especially with our women's soccer team, of course. But there are sports that Rachel and I felt get far too little attention and are actually sports that we find somewhat engaging, which is why we actually enjoy viewing them or sharing them with you, so you can look for them too.
Yep.
And I am not talking about ESPN hosts poker. That is not a sport. No. For the record.
It is a competition.
But
it is a competition, but yeah, sport, I don't know.
I'd sooner put that in a game show category than a sports category.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's not where we're going. We're going truly to sports. And I'm going to start with a throwback that you could even find on YouTube to this day. Battle of the Network Stars.
Battle of the Network Stars. I don't think I even know that one.
Okay. If you lived in the 70s and early 80s.
Early 80s? Mid to late? Mid.
You wouldn't remember, though.
No.
What they did was they would get like really big stars of sitcoms and some drama TV as well. And they would have them come to do these crazy battles, split them into two teams, and it would almost be like fun battles, like, you know, obstacle courses in a swimming pool. And
that's awesome.
You know, how to jump through, you know, ski through shaving cream on roller skate, or what, I mean, they're crazy fun.
Athletically minded, but fun.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Totally. And moderated by professional sports moderators. If you remember Battle of the Network Stars, raise your hand. If you don't remember Battle of the Network Stars, but you got a YouTube on your computer and you're going
to look it up later?
Look it up. It's worth it.
Am I going to recognize some of the stars? Like they're not just like pre my time.
And just for the record, the reason I got tuned into that one was because I just read. Yes, I read also. I don't only watch TV.
It's true. I have seen her.
I just finished Valerie Bertinelli's new book.
Okay.
And she was on Battle of Network Stars when she was a teenager on One Day at a Time, the original version. So just saying, you'll see some really super familiar faces on this show.
Well, it's funny too now, because I will still periodically watch like a celebrity pro-am, or a celebrity basketball game, or so, you know, during the NBA week when they do the dunk contest, they'll have celebrity games and stuff like that. And there is something kind of fun about watching people who you know for acting or singing, performing, especially when they're good. Especially when you think to yourself, okay, they could have also maybe had a career in basketball.
When they're good, it's really fun, because if you like watching sports, you get engaged for that reason. Yep. And the other thing is, it makes you feel better about yourself and how you play those sports. Just saying.
Brings a little humanity when they're not so good.
Now, there's something that this week, now welcome to summer, because for us, summer's just beginning. You'll be seeing this in a couple weeks, but for us, summer's just beginning. Well, the beginning of summer also ushered in a special anniversary. Would you like to share?
Yeah, absolutely. So it is the 50th anniversary of the Title IX decision, which basically required that schools and organizations provide as much support for women's sports as men's sports.
It was gender equality in sports. Yeah. Absolutely. And
still some things to work on, but TikTok has actually been very interesting with that, talking about viewership. There have been a lot of female athletes, collegiate athletes especially, who have shown their facilities versus the male team's facilities and actually gotten some headway because of that.
And not only that, but the facilities improved.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. They had recruiting power.
Hall High School was one of the featured
I didn't know that.
Schools when they were talking about this recently on the news. Many of you may have seen this, being West Hartford residents, and you will have noted that they started by talking about way back when the only place for women who are on the swim team at Hall to practice was Eisenhower Park, no matter what the temperature. They did not have an indoor facility allowed to them. Oops. They also have someone currently on sports staff that benefited from this and has been involved in Hall High School athletics now for almost the entire Title IX period. It's very exciting. Women's sports have come a long way, baby.
Well, I think we're also seeing a lot more on TV than we used to. I don't remember growing up, and UConn women's basketball has been phenomenal for many years in Connecticut. I don't remember seeing a lot of UConn games like women's games on TV growing up.
And now the women's games are far more exciting and engaging thanks to quality recruiting.
Well, I think there's always going to be that little bit of a difference where some people say, oh, it's not as exciting, it's not as fast-paced. Fair. Absolutely. Like, men's games tend to be faster paced, they tend to be higher scoring, but for me, it's not as much about the sport at that point. It's about like the excitement. And I love men's sports, but I really love being able to watch women's sports. And I think it's been huge for young female athletes to be able to watch women's sports.
And I know many of you may have seen the movie King Richard that was in theaters last year. While King Richard, good movie, but following the real journey of Serena and Venus Williams. The Williams sisters, talk about what they brought to the sport. And without Title IX, I don't know that things would have gone as well for them, including financially, let's be real.
Yeah. And it's still, I mean, there's still, Serena Williams, despite the fact that she's one of the winningest competitors, is still, traditionally being offered less in sponsorship than a male athlete who maybe wins one. But it's okay, because we're going to keep fighting.
And we're going to keep publicizing it.
Yes.
So women's sports as a whole are less viewed, but the more they're viewed, the more they'll be recognized. Thank you, Title IX.
Yeah.
And now we go on to some more interesting and unusual sports that do air on TV. Maybe not on the 3, 4, whatever you call the major networks this week, last week, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. They change.
But right now, streaming is the thing anyway, and or cable. Do you know that you can see Frisbee competition?
I actually have, so yes. I'm not going to say I watch it a lot. I enjoy playing Frisbee.
I'm not DVRing it, but if I find it.
I'm not like following the top 3 frolf players, Frisbee golf, frolf, in the world. But I know that it exists, and I support their right to play it.
And I got to tell you, the first time I saw Frisbee as a competitive sport, because to me Frisbee was a game that I played as a kid.
Oh, but when they play it seriously, the athleticism.
I watched teams play it in Central Park when it was starting to creep up there in popularity. And all I thought of was, if they included tackle, this would be like watching football. It was that insane.
And the ultimate Frisbee really is in many ways that. There's less of the tackling piece.
Well, no, I said if tackling was incorporated.
There are some leagues that are touch leagues. But even you'll see, like, they have collegiate Frisbee, ultimate Frisbee teams, and these players are literally jumping and diving as if they were wearing full football pads and everything, but they're not. They're
in shorts and a t-shirt.
They're in shorts and a t-shirt, not even helmet, knee pads, elbow pads, and they're just going for it.
And you know what, though? You talk about fast-paced.
Yeah.
Watch a Frisbee game played by people who are doing it at that level. It's actually a lot of fun.
Yeah. And it's definitely intimidating to watch and think, oh my gosh, like Frisbee can be that. But I mean, they've clearly been playing long enough that they don't miss. When I throw a Frisbee, it might go to you. It might also go
on my roof.
Anywhere else.
Yeah,
really?
well, if it's me throwing the Frisbee, it might be on top of my garage roof.
Yeah. So good on these players.
Yeah. Getting it to the person they mean it to go to.
Yeah, exactly.
And the interceptions, unbelievable.
The energy they bring to it is also really fun.
Now, another sport I do want to go address.
Yeah.
That is a little bit more popular, but I don't think people really watch it other than look for the news report about, okay, what team won, is the Tour de France.
I think that's totally true. I've never, ever watched more than maybe 10 minutes of it, and yet I knew for years Lance Armstrong's name, obviously before controversy and then after controversy.
Right.
But I think it's true. Like, people don't necessarily even know the specific athletes a lot of the time.
You don't?
Well, I would say most people. There are people who follow cycling in that way.
Those are usually really die-hard cyclists.
Yeah.
Many of whom compete on their home turf.
Yeah.
But in this case, the Tour de France, first of all, it's done in multiple stages. Mm-hmm. There's a team framework as well as an individual framework. And if you actually watch these cyclists, I sat there and said, and I started doing this, because all I thought was, they could all hit each other.
There have been some major crashes.
There have been serious crashes. One that was notorious because somebody actually stepped out from the crowd with a sign.
Yeah.
Now, I realize the person did not mean to cause injury, but really bad choice on that one's part, because there was injuries, unfortunately. But in general, you watch the skills. Think about when you bicycled around your block as a kid, and then you see what they're doing. Mm-hmm. Whoa!
Well, I think it's also always been fascinating to see, they would always have the helicopter shots of the whole race before, and you see the countryside and that they're biking through, and it's beautiful and it's gorgeous. And now with drone capabilities, I have to imagine that, I'll say in general, sports TV has gotten more exciting because you're really able, they literally have a drone like in somebody's face and then like have it peel away and you're like, ah, and it just adds excitement, and the cinematography is just different
and you can really
new.
get the perception also with the helmet cameras.
Yes, to see what it's really like.
To see what they're experiencing.
To live stream someone's GoPro as they're in the midst of the pack at the Tour de France.
Now, I watched the Tour de France is wonderful, and now I'm going to tell you, I watched recently, and it was like I don't know the exact name of the sport because it was one of those moments I was clicking through, and I discovered a competition where it's basically an oversized, like, mountain bike, or not oversized, but really heavy-duty mountain bike, and they ride from the top of what looks like a precipice that Thelma and Louise wouldn't have survived, sure. And they go down the side of this mountain. And some of them had those GoPros on. Mm-mm. I nearly needed to take an anti-nausea med.
Yeah.
Because I was sitting there saying, and then they get to the bottom. And
those are the sports that you like hold your breath the whole time when you're...
And I saw a couple of spills. But when they get to the bottom, not only are they excited that they made it, because I'm sitting here saying, oh my God, they lived. Mm-hmm. But they're checking the time. And I'm thinking,
you made it,
trying
sir.
to do this fast?
You won. You are alive right now. You did it.
End of the game, right?
Like everybody ties for first.
And it's long. It's like, literally, we're talking about 40, 50, 60, 70 seconds of watching this happen. And they're jumping the bikes over from cliff to cliff. If you're a biker person, also comment on this and let us know the exact name of this sport, because holy moly, I'd watch it again.
Mountaineering by bicycle. I don't know.
It's downhill, like, though.
Downhill mountain bike racing.
And living.
And living. That is the, imagine if that's part of the sport. Surviving the mountain on bicycle.
Oh, there you go. We just got a new name. Why don't you go and talk about that one?
So one of the, I would say, up-and-coming sports, and I'm going to call it a sport because it's more than just an obstacle course, is Ninja Warrior, and it's American Ninja Warrior. And now there's American Ninja Warrior Junior. There's also American Ninja Warrior Team Sports. They've started franchising now all these different areas, but I would say probably about 10 years ago is when it started to become more popular in the US. And if you don't know, it is, for all intents and purposes, a giant obstacle course, but these are not little obstacles. These are hanging from your fingertips on like a 2-inch platform while you're swinging your body over the water onto a precipice, and then you have a backwards ladder. I highly recommend, if you haven't had the chance to go on YouTube, because a lot of the videos are on there. It's so exciting. There are stars of Ninja Warrior. The two hosts themselves are incredibly popular. And I think what it did for a lot of people, for a lot of kids, my kiddo participates in American Ninja Warrior lessons at a local gym. It's a really great way to be athletic generally without necessarily aiming for a specific sport. Like, I think in general, like, his muscle tone is stronger, his balance, coordination, it works on all these things. But the athletes who participate are unbelievable and really have become in many ways stars in their own right within the sport.
And I think what they've done is given people the desire to know that it's fun, exciting, and gets you attention if you're healthy.
Yeah.
If you have a healthy ability athletically.
Absolutely.
And not necessarily in one thing.
Absolutely.
Because it focuses on a variety of different skills, whether it's arm skills, leg skills, swimming, upper body, lower body. It sort of encompasses that. So to me, it's the fun version of cross training.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways,
at the kids' levels,
if you are a Ninja Warrior athlete, you are training really at anything from literally your finger grip to your like ankle strength. Like they are working on everything, and so far he's having a blast. And the other thing that's nice about the actual TV show is, like a lot of competition series, they give you the background on the athletes. So they're athletes from all walks of life. There are 45-year-old single mothers, and there are 27-year-old former soldiers. And they're all competing together and really supportive.
They highlight, for example, cancer survivors who made this a goal of theirs to get healthy enough so that they could compete.
And sometimes they go out on the first obstacle, and it is what it is. They made it on the show, and there isn't a star. There isn't a Ninja Warrior star that hasn't fallen on one of the obstacles. Like there's also this continual sense of like improvement. And I didn't make it this year, but I'll be back next year. And I think that all is a really,
which is terrific.
It all makes it all very fascinating.
Now, another sport that really gives people challenges, and everybody thinks of it on the long extent, but the triathlon. Many of you, if not all of you, know about the famous Ironman triathlon, generally held in Hawaii, and it's 125 miles. It's going to cover forever, where the ending piece is literally a full-length marathon.
And that's the end.
And that's the final piece. It's 3. You start with swimming, and you're swimming in open water. You're not swimming in a pool, and and where there's currents and other swimmers, and then you're biking for like a gazillion miles, it seems like, in my opinion. It's just long for me. But
And
then
then
there's short versions of triathlons. And all the triathlon really means is you're really attacking the three sports: swimming, biking, running. There are triathlons that are as short as 10K.
Yep.
Okay, that's great, that's doable, and that's achievable.
And also easier to watch. I think sometimes, even when I watch the Olympics, there's a reason they don't typically show you the whole marathon.
Although they do. I watch the whole marathon.
Oh, so you watch?
I'm one of those geeks. I get up at whatever a.m. in the morning.
It's got to be like a NASCAR race. Like they're turning left. They're turning left again. Like they're running. They're still running.
Well, I can honestly say, though, I don't necessarily stare at it for 2.5 hours.
Okay. That's true. It's like the background noise. You check in. You're like, oh, she's still killing it. Then you go back.
Right. And they do talk about backgrounds for those, for the runners as well. And speaking of Olympics.
Yes.
Thank you for bringing that up.
You're welcome.
There are Olympic sports. First of all, we all had the Olympics last year. We got a double dose. We got winter, we got summer because of the delay in COVID. And so for Olympic geeks like me, it was a lot of fun. But also for Olympic geeks like me, we don't always watch the typical prime time featured pieces. I always look for the schedule and find out what sort of extraneous affiliated cable thing is going to host what I want.
Yep.
And it's usually at 2 o'clock in the morning, our time.
Which like NBC affiliate.
Right.
That you've never looked at before in your life. Yeah.
Exactly. And then I'm going to click DVR because I'm certainly not going to watch it at 2 a.m. I love it, but not that much.
Yeah.
No. So there's a few sports, and they sometimes will show the featured, but I like to watch the not necessarily featured athletes. I love the equestrian competition.
Well, and you used to ride too.
I was a rider. I used to jump.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And I was on a college team, which, by the way, college equestrian, never televised. No. And it's exciting. It's exciting, by the way, because you never ride your own horses. You ride the horses at the school you go to.
That's interesting.
So there's a challenge there. You have to be a skilled rider to get on a strange horse and be like, okay, you can be nice to me now, please? Okay. But they're riding their own horses. And the equestrian competition at the Olympics, and it's exciting. First of all, there's dressage, which used to be nicknamed horse dancing.
That's the one where they're like.
But they have specific directions, and the gait that they use, and the lead hoof, leg, whatever you want to call it, counts. And if you make a boo-boo, there's points that go bye-bye.
See, I feel like it's a sport that the Olympics used to give little descriptions as you would watch sometimes. And they'd say, oh, this is how you earn a point, and this, that. They don't do that as much now.
No, they don't, because it's not as exciting.
Most of the time I'm just like,
So the three things that I thought this past year, because then I'm going to give you your big tease now that I teased at the beginning. The three Olympic sports that we talked about and thought were worth watching again in the future and are sometimes on in between Olympics, folks, were equestrian of all different varieties, including the jumping and the cross country, which are super exciting.
Gorgeous.
Whether you're the top of the list or the bottom, it's exciting to watch anyone do this. Also in summer, the fencing. Very artistic.
Another sport I don't understand, but I love it.
They did, and they actually did do some teaching of points, how you got them. And then in winter, curling.
Another sport, I have no idea.
With this 50-pound
my sister and her
stone.
husband and my dad love this sport. My sister is obsessed with curling, and I simply just don't. I'm sure I just have to ask how to understand it, but I've never taken the time.
Watch those when you get the chance. It's a lot of fun. Check YouTube.
There's a lot of excitement.
It's all on YouTube if you want to check back to it. Sweep. And now, next time, we have a live show. Next time we have a live show and a new season. Our new season is going to start September 12th. And we're inviting you, yes, everybody out there, your friends, your friends in other states, in other countries.
Yeah, they just need the link.
All you need is the internet. To sign up, we are doing a live, in-studio, Emmy red carpet party with several of our nearest and dearest.
I will be fancy.
I will be dressed to the as nines as I get.
Yeah, I will be dressed to the sevens. I will.
No,
I have work the next day. But it will be a high 7.
A high 7? I bet she's going for the 10 and she's just lying to me because she's trying to make me feel better. Come, wear your finest attire because we are doing a webinar that night. And while we're talking, we're going to look at you and we're going to talk with you and we want to hear from you. We will be sending out a link for you to register. There is no cost for this event. This event is free red carpet. What more can you do? And we want to know who you think will win those Emmys as they come. I may even ask a question or two as we're going through that evening. So we'll see who comes up with answers and we will recognize all of you. And just remember, you can wear your absolute best red carpet attire.
Absolutely.
Or your favorite PJs and snuggly duds on the sofa. We don't care. We want to see y'all.
I mean, I guess I'll be fancy.
No, you have no choice. But if you do that and you have fun slippers, show them to me because I always love fun slippers. Just saying.
There you go.
And we will have our Emmy predictions as we start the show that evening when we are live. Come for the most fun, West Hartford-based, Central Connecticut-based Emmy event you will ever get to see.
I'm excited.
Yes, we're in.
We're in.
Woo! So thank you. Welcome to summer from Carolyn Talks Television. My darling Rachel and I wish you a lot of fun in summer and have fun with creative sports.